Across time and cultures, people have searched for something we call enlightenment, a state of peace, clarity, and expanded awareness. Some describe it as awakening, others call it freedom. But beneath all the traditions and teachings, enlightenment is ultimately about one thing: seeing reality as it truly is. It's been spoken of for thousands of years, from the Buddha under the Bodhi tree, to mystics lost in prayer, to modern seekers sitting quietly on a meditation cushion. And while it once seemed like something mystical or unreachable, today, science and psychology are beginning to explore it in a new way. Not as a distant spiritual ideal, but as a genuine transformation of the human mind. Part 1. What enlightenment really means. In the East, enlightenment has deep roots. In Buddhism, it's known as nirvana, the end of suffering when craving and attachment fade away. It's not about escaping life. It's about seeing clearly that everything changes and that peace comes from accepting that truth. In Hinduism, it's called moksha, the realization that your true self, the Atman, is one with the divine, Brahman. It's not about becoming something new, it's remembering who you've always been. Both paths point to the same awakening, a shift from identifying with the small self, the ego, to realizing your connection with everything. In the West, the word enlightenment took on a different meaning. Christian mystics spoke of union with God, merging their will with divine love through prayer and devotion. Later, philosophers like Immanuel Kant used enlightenment to describe something more rational: the courage to think for yourself, to awaken intellectually and morally. Different paths, yes, but all sharing one essence: a movement beyond limitation toward freedom and awareness. Part 2. Enlightenment as transformation. In modern psychology, especially in a field called transpersonal psychology, enlightenment is seen not just as a spiritual state, but as a psychological transformation. It's what happens when the sense of I, the ego, softens. When we stop seeing ourselves as isolated individuals and start feeling part of something larger. Psychologists like Ken Wilber, Roger Walsh, and Frances Vaughan describe enlightenment as a developmental process, a maturing of consciousness that includes self-awareness, compassion, and wisdom. Instead of escaping the self, it's like expanding the self until it includes everything. This shift often brings emotional stability, reduced anxiety, and a deep sense of connection. People describe it as peaceful, clear, and alive, like the noise in the mind quiets, and what remains is stillness. From a psychological point of view, enlightenment isn't a single moment, it's an unfolding, a process of growth that keeps deepening over time. Part 3. The ego and the no-self experience. One of the most fascinating parts of enlightenment is what's often called ego dissolution, the fading of that inner voice that always says me, mine, I. In Buddhism, this is called anatta, or no self. It's the realization that the self we cling to is a story, a useful one, but still a story. When that story relaxes, something else appears, a vast awareness that simply sees, without judgment or identity. Many people describe this as unity or oneness, a sense of being deeply connected with everything. From a scientific view, this isn't just poetry, it's measurable. Brain scans of long-term meditators show reduced activity in a network called the subdefault mode network, the part of the brain linked to self-referential thinking. When that quiets down, people often experience a dissolving of boundaries and a greater sense of presence. This merging of ancient insight and neuroscience shows us that enlightenment is both a spiritual and biological phenomenon, where the brain and consciousness meet in harmony. Part 4. The practices that lead there. Throughout history, people have found many ways to approach enlightenment, but they all share a common goal: quieting the noise, awakening awareness. Meditation, is one of the oldest and most studied paths. Through mindfulness, we learn to observe thoughts instead of being caught in them. Over time, that practice loosens the grip of the ego and reveals the stillness underneath. Yoga. Especially the meditative form known as Raja Yoga offers another route. Through concentration, breath, and stillness, the body becomes a bridge to consciousness. The ancient yogis called the final state samadhi, a complete merging with the present moment. An, breathwork, and one, pranayama, have long been used to balance the nervous system and regulate emotion, making it easier to enter calm, aware states. And in recent years, researchers have revisited psychedelic-assisted therapy as another window into transcendence. Substances like psilocybin, when used carefully in therapeutic settings, can dissolve the sense of self and open experiences of unity and deep insight. These experiences echo traditional descriptions of enlightenment, but they remind us that transformation isn't about tools or substances alone. It's about integration, bringing the insight back into daily life. Part 5, the science of awakening. Modern science is beginning to map what the mystics have spoken of for centuries. Neuroscientists studying long-term meditators have found measurable changes in the brain, especially in regions linked to attention, emotion regulation, and self-awareness. During deep meditation, activity in the default mode network, the brain's story of me drops significantly. That drop correlates with feelings of ego dissolution and unity. At the same time, brainwaves like white gamma frequencies linked to clarity and compassion become more synchronized. These studies suggest enlightenment isn't just an idea. It's a real shift in brain function and perception. And while science can measure the how, the experience itself, the stillness, the love, the sense of connection, remains something words can only point toward. Part 6, the light and the shadow. It's important to remember, awakening isn't always easy. Many people go through what's called a spiritual emergency, a period of confusion or disorientation when the old sense of self breaks apart. It can feel unsettling, even frightening. Psychologists like Tom Stanislav and Christina Groff have written about this, how transformation can sometimes look like crisis before it becomes clarity. That's why grounding practices, community, nature, therapy, compassion are vital. Enlightenment isn't about escaping humanity. It's about becoming more fully human. Part 7, Enlightenment and Mental Health. The link between awakening and well-being is powerful. People who experience moments of deep insight, whether through meditation, mindfulness, or simply presence, often report less anxiety and depression and more joy and compassion. Why? Because enlightenment shifts perspective. When you stop identifying with every thought or fear, you stop suffering from them in the same way. This doesn't mean life becomes perfect. It means you experience it differently, with more spaciousness, more peace, more love. And from a psychological perspective, that's not just mystical, it's healthy. Conclusion: so what does enlightenment really mean for us today? It means the possibility of living awake, of seeing beyond the small stories of me and mine, and feeling part of something vast and alive. It's the merging of science and spirit, where meditation meets neuroscience and timeless wisdom meets modern psychology. Whether you call it nirvana, moksha, union with God, or simply peace, enlightenment is not an escape from life. It's a return to it. And the path is not out there. It's here, in awareness, in each breath, in every moment we remember who we really are. That's the psychology of enlightenment, the meeting place of mind, heart, and spirit.